What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Rockets Daily, brought to you by FanArch. My name is David Delano. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the NBA Cup schedule, which has now been released. We've got the NBA Cup groups, which we've had for a little while. And we're even going to talk about the odds as far as what the NBA Cup odds right now, according to the odds makers, and what that may mean for the Rockets, what's expected early on in the Rockets season. And of course, we're going to dive into our Rockets history as well today, the 1989-1990 season. Appreciate it if you would go ahead and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment about anything going on in your mind, anything going on that you guys want to talk about now. As we're in the middle of August, recording this early on Thursday, August 14th. By tomorrow's episode, we should have the NBA schedule, and we're going to be going deep into different odds and dissecting that schedule into next week as well. But first of all, let's go ahead and start with this NBA Cup. And as we're looking at this NBA Cup here, first of all, let's take a look at the different groups. The Rockets are in West C, which is going to be with the Denver Nuggets, the Golden State Warriors, the Portland Trailblazers, and the San Antonio Spurs. And if you go ahead and you look at this, all of these different groups, I think that the Rockets are in the most difficult group overall. I mean, you've got, if there's any teams ahead of them right now on paper in the West, obviously Oklahoma City. And then you can make an argument for the Denver Nuggets, who are in the division. And then you've got the Golden State Warriors, who we did beat them last year in the NBA Cup. But unfortunately, when it really mattered, beat us in a 7-game series. So obviously the Golden State Warriors, a long-time nemesis. Anytime playing the Golden State Warriors, it's still something. It's going to be it's still something to get by, an obstacle that's going to be in the way, and until we prove that we don't have to worry about them. San Antonio Spurs are going to be tough. Portland Trailblazers, I think, are going to be one of the more underrated teams in the NBA. And let's go ahead and look at this NBA Cup schedule here. And as you look at the schedule opening up, as far as the NBA Cup play goes, on Friday, November 7th, taking on the San Antonio Spurs. And a couple things that makes this game difficult. Opening day is October 21st, this November 7th game. Just a couple weeks into the season. We talked about chemistry a lot on yesterday's episode. Players still meshing together. Kevin Durant still fitting in. We'll see how well he fits in at this part of the season. But playing up against the San Antonio Spurs team with a lot of talent, with Wemby, with De'Aaron Fox. They've got a lot of young talent on the San Antonio Spurs team. And if healthy, this is a team that can make a substantial leap this season. I think that this could be one of the top 6 teams in the West if they are healthy. And you're playing them early in the season and in San Antonio. We got the Portland Trailblazers in Houston, November 14th for the NBA Cup. And Portland, an underrated team as well. They play hard under Chauncey Billups. Dame Lillard went back. Obviously, Dame's not going to be playing this early in the season, if at all, next season. But adding Drew Holiday, this is a team that I think is going to be playing hard, especially early out the gate. Do have them at home. It should be a game that the Rockets win, but nothing's going to be easy in this group. Then you've got the following weekend on the 21st, these first 3 games on Fridays, hosting the Denver Nuggets. So nice to have that game at home, but very, very difficult matchup. And then ending regular group play in Golden State on that Wednesday, November 26th, right before the Thanksgiving holiday. A difficult spot going to San Francisco. So as you really look at that, and the way that the NBA Cup works, for those of you guys who may not remember, as obviously it's a new thing, Lakers won the first one. You had the Milwaukee Bucks that won the second one. As you see here, you've got 6 different groups. So you're going to have the top team from each group advance, and then you've got the next 2 wild card teams, I should say. So there's going to be 8 teams that advance from this group play. And along with the records, the tiebreakers go according to point differential. So one thing in the NBA Cup, yeah, a loss is not just a loss, and a win is not just a win. So there's a difference between winning by 7. There's a difference between winning by 20. It's not a situation where you just want to run down the clock and just get out of there with a win. It's also not a situation where if you're losing, you just want to go ahead and pack it in. You want to keep fighting for every point. So you're going to want to roll your best lineup out there. And another thing that makes this very, very interesting for the NBA Cup wise, as we look at that schedule, none of these games are going to be easy, but on paper, the Spurs and the Trailblazers should be less difficult games, just on paper, than the Denver Nuggets and the Golden State Warriors, if healthy. I mean, I guess you can kind of argue with that Spurs game. That's not going to be easy by any means, but the point I'm trying to make here is Rockets win those first 2 games. That's going to be, that could potentially, that game against Denver on November 21st could be a war with a lot of energy being exerted, and then also going to Golden State that next week. So it's going to be a very interesting scenario to see how it plays out. And as we look at the odds for the NBA Cup, I think that the odds makers, there's a few different things that I see here. Now, obviously, the NBA Cup, not as important, not nearly as important as winning an NBA championship. But we've talked about when you look at the West overall, the Rockets have the 3rd best odds. They're about plus 700 to plus 850 to win the NBA championship on most sports books. That means a $100 risk would profit you $750 at plus 750, or $850 at plus 850. Now, where I'm getting at here is, as you look at these NBA Cup odds, the Rockets are more of a long shot there. Got Oklahoma City, the Knicks, the Cavs, the Magic, who I think are a sleeper. They'd actually be my early prediction to come out of the Eastern Conference for what it's worth. Got the Magic 4th, the Nuggets 5th, and then you've got the Rockets tied for 6th with the Atlanta Hawks. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the difficulty of the groups and also playing early in the season. Atlanta Hawks, you look at their group. I mean, Washington Wizards are terrible. Toronto Raptors should be improved, but not great. Indiana Pacers dealing with a lot of injuries, and even the Cleveland Cavaliers, who one of the favorites to come out of the East. They haven't particularly performed great in the first 2 NBA Cups, and they're also going to be without Darius Garland to begin the season. So Atlanta, on paper, much more less difficult path than Houston. I think that group for the Houston Rockets is the most difficult group to get through, and I think that's why we are seeing that reflected in these odds. Now, what we are also seeing when it comes to the odds, when it comes to the division, the Southwest Division, the Rockets by far are expected to run away with this division. Minus 350. That means you'd have to risk $350 to just be able to profit $100. Spurs at plus 700. Dallas Mavericks, I don't see them winning the division, but at plus 1200, that's some tall odds there. Mavericks maybe a little undervalued. Memphis Grizzlies plus 1400, and then you've got the New Orleans Pelicans that are not plus 1500, but plus 15,000. So Rockets by far in the Southwest Division, the favorites by a long shot. Distant second, you've got the Spurs. Distant third, you've got the Mavericks, and then the Grizzlies, and really the New Orleans Pelicans. Nobody giving them a shot whatsoever. So from these odds, I'm seeing that the Houston Rockets expected to probably struggle early in the season, as that NBA Cup is going to be really the first. It all goes down as far as group play in the month of November. But as far as when you look at the whole Southwest Division, Rockets are expected to win that rather comfortably. And as we talk about these things, we're going to look at the Houston Rockets 1989 1990 season, as you had Don Chaney, the coach that season as well. And the Rockets went 41-41. This was actually a season that the ended with a championship for the Detroit Pistons, as the Detroit Pistons went out and took out the Portland Trail Blazers that particular year. This was a season where the Rockets only went 41-41. Eighth seed lost to the top seed Los Angeles Lakers 3-1 in the first round. And one thing very, very substantial, one of the most interesting guys in Houston Rockets history. Actually had an opportunity to meet him this past year, and doesn't really, just one of those guys you can just listen to him talk forever, and it just never gets old. Vernon Mad Max Maxwell was acquired during the 1989-1990 season by the Houston Rockets. Made a mid-season move. Rockets were 22-25 at the All-Star break and acquired Vernon Maxwell from the San Antonio Spurs that season. Looking at that year, Olajuwon led the team with 24.3 points per game, 14 rebounds, 2.1 steals, and 4.6 blocks per game. And that 4.6 blocks per game is actually tied to this day for the fourth most blocks. Well, I guess I should say, when you look at the tiebreakers, they're it's fifth most blocks in a single season in NBA history. Number one and number two, Mark Eaton, number one and number four all time, 1984-85 season and 85-86. Manute Bol in the 85-86 season. And then you also had Elmore Smith as well, who was third in 1973-74 season. But most blocks, especially 89-90, no one has had more blocks in a single season by average than Olajuwon did in that particular year. But beyond that dominant season for Olajuwon, he had Otis Thorpe, was second on the team, 17.1 points per game and 9 rebounds per game. Buck Johnson, 14.8 points per game. Sleepy Floyd, 12.2. Vernon Maxwell, Mad Max, had 12.5, but only 30 games with the Rockets that season. Sleepy Floyd played in all 82. Mitchell Wiggins, rest in peace, was returned to the Rockets that season after a 2.5-year drug suspension. Averaged 15.5 points per game that season for Houston. And once again, I said it was a first round loss. As dominant as that season was for Olajuwon, it's pretty crazy when you look at in a lot of it. I mean, the Rockets were only 41-41 and lost in the first round, so not a great season. But a lot of times when people disrespect the 80s and 90s, it's pretty crazy. You look at the year that he had that we talked about, and he finished 7th in the MVP voting that season. MVP that year was Magic Johnson. Number 2 was Charles Barkley. Number 3, Michael Jordan. Number 4 was Karl Malone. Number 5 was Patrick Ewing. And number 6 was David Robinson. So very, very interesting that Olajuwon was number 7. Tom Chambers was 8. John Stockton 9th. And then you had Larry Bird and Buck Williams tied at 10th. So not really a season that's going to go down as being one of the most memorable in Rockets history, with a 41-41 record, but outstanding year for Olajuwon all the way around. And it also was the beginning of the Vernon Maxwell era in Houston, which has Still going strong, man, which is really never ended. So thanks so much for watching Rockets Daily. We'll be back with more history tomorrow. NBA schedule drops tonight. I'm excited to go ahead and see the full thing. Thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. You can also follow me on X at Get Sports Strong. God bless and be safe out there.